Another company with a Peter Thiel connection is also exploring Bitcoin, Palantir Technologies, which was co-founded by Thiel. They're accepting Bitcoin payments. During an earnings call Tuesday, CFO Dave Glazer saying the publicly traded software firm is thinking of investing in Bitcoin as a treasury reserve asset. And joining us now to discuss is CoinDesk news reporter Jamie Crawley in London. Welcome to the show, Jamie.
Thank you for having me, Christine. It's great to be here.
All right, Jamie, so you wrote that article on Block.one. Perhaps tell us a bit about Block.one and their plans with this $10 billion in funding.
Yeah, certainly. Well, as you mentioned, Christine, Block.one is the developer of the EOS.io blockchain, and this is seems to be the fruition, coming to fruition of the unleashing the treasure chest of Bitcoin that they raised back in 2018 when, courtesy of a $4.1 billion initial coin offering, ICO, remember them? And they've now launching a subsidiary, as you mentioned, Bullish Global, backed by $10 billion worth of funding, the majority of which is from their own Bitcoin holdings, which are worth around $9 billion. And the main venture of Bullish Global is this year will be to launch the Bullish crypto exchange, which will exist on the EOS blockchain.
Jamie, do we really need another crypto exchange? How will Bullish Global make things better or be different from what's already out there? And some people are even questioning why EOS, it's being built on that network.
It's an excellent question, Christine. On the one hand, there's always going to be appetite for exchanges. More people are coming into crypto, and as much as the centralized nature of a Coinbase, for example, might not quite meet with the original ethos of cryptocurrency, things that really matter to users are things like user experience, ease of access, customer support, etc. So those are the things that are still going to help drive adoption of cryptocurrency. So there's certainly a big enough pie to be shared around, where this might differentiate slightly from the other major players in this space, would be, as you mentioned, the fact that it exists on the EOS blockchain. So it is maybe offering a bit of a best of both worlds. It's almost centralized, decentralized finance.
I also noticed almost all the funding is from Block.one itself, $9.3 billion in Bitcoin dollars and EOS. So why even bother with the other investors?
It's another very good question. I think they're certainly serving an advisory capacity, and for EOS to Block.one rather to unleash something like this, they want to they need some big names behind them to give it the clout that it needs to sort of build out a share of the crypto exchange market, which, as you mentioned, is already pretty busy. So I think that the deep pockets of such investors and the weight of the names that they can attach to it, I think is obviously very important to them as well.
Right, it makes sense, and certainly before regulators, it could help. SEC Chair Gary Gensler spoke before Congress last week, asking for more clarity on crypto exchange regulations. How do you think this will play out for the crypto industry?
Well, it's very difficult to say still. As Gary Gensler mentioned, there's still a little bit of regulatory uncertainty. It's still quite a murky picture in the US. Largely because obviously regulation of this nature is occurring at state level, which whether or not it's suggested that he'd like a bit more federal oversight of it, that would remain to be seen. But it's going to remain a murky pitch for the time being. What might drive some answer some of those questions is if it does become a more cohesive picture from one state to another, and the SEC can play some sort of role in that.
Yeah, a lot of people are also saying, we need greater regulatory clarity in this space so that crypto exchanges know what to do going forward, and that could actually improve innovation if these regulations are thought out in a very thoughtful manner. All right, so Block.one has some big investors. I mentioned, Numero's on the list, Mike Novogratz's Galaxy Digital, and Peter Thiel, who's the co-founder of PayPal, of course. And I found that interesting because Thiel recently said Bitcoin could be used as a weapon by the Chinese government to challenge the US dollar. So, perhaps that was a call to arms to get the US to be more of a leader in this space. But what do you make of Peter Thiel's involvement here?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? He's certainly something of always appeared as a bit of a mercurial character. He a lot got made of his comments about Bitcoin and the role it could play in China being able to overtake the dollar as or China able to overtake the US as the world's sort of center of gravity from an economic point of view. There's a bit of context there. This wasn't him saying this from a soapbox point of view. He was asked specifically, what are the challenges? And he mentioned a few of those things like the digital, the ERMB in China, the Chinese CBDC, and so on. I think your point is an astute one about it becoming maybe some sort of call to arms, which again linked to what we were talking before about the EC. We know that China is way out in front of any other country when it comes to mining. So there are some things that the US might need to address from that point of view to show some signs, at least, that it's not going to give up on competing with China in this space as it grows.
Right. He also, I also mentioned Palantir Technologies earlier. It was also co-founded by Peter Thiel. They had their earnings call today. They are also dipping their toes into Bitcoin in more ways than one. Maybe you can touch a bit about that. It seems Peter Thiel is very much bullish in the crypto space.
Yes, indeed. Palantir had the earnings call earlier today when CFO Dave Glazer announced that they were now accepting payment in Bitcoin, and hinted that there was a possibility that they would also open up a treasury position on cryptocurrency, holding it on their balance sheet. There's a few threads to this. On the one hand, there might be a sense of no news is bad news and crypto news is good news, because Palantir's stock price it's been a bit of a rut over the last few months. I think it's more or less cut in half since the end of January. So into seeing some of the momentum behind other companies who are holding Bitcoin on the balance sheet. We know about Tesla. We know about MicroStrategy. So there's a possibility, at least that they want to see gather some of that, that's an interesting point. Pete Thiel has always been as I said, an interesting figure in this space, and he has been known to invest in a good number of the crypto-related startups.